Let's bring in Jim Miller. Fritzy's escorting Jim in. Jim is short on sleep. Jim said he had 2 hours of sleep after going to the Saturday Night Live post party. Yes, Paulie.
If you could have gone to one, the SNL show last night or the post party?
I'd go to the post party over the show last night. Yes. But I'll ask Jim because Jim said a lot of celebrity sightings last night with the post party with Saturday Night Live. And I thought for the most part it was fun. I mean, I thought there's some great moments there. Steve Martin was great. Bill Murray cameo. There was just some fun things. And Jim wrote the book on Saturday Night Live. Kind enough to join us, short on sleep. So the best moment of the post-party for Saturday Night Live was when what?
I think after Paul McCartney, the B-52s, and a bunch of other people had gotten on stage, Jimmy Fallon took the mic and said, I hear Prince is in the room. Prince, are you here? If you're here, you're coming on stage. And sure enough, Prince came. And I got to tell you, he's a level jump because McCartney was there, Elvis Costello played, Michael Bolton played, Miley Cyrus was on stage, yada, 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 on and on and on. People were really into it. They're having a fantastic time. But when Prince made his way to the stage, everybody got out their phones for the videos and everybody kind of rushed the stage. It was the deep end of the pool.
Okay, but so this is the post party.
Yeah.
And where was it?
At the Plaza.
And you had a stage, a riser, and then you just kind of got up when you wanted to get up? Or was
Danny Aykroyd started it off as he did. I was, not to give away my age, but I was at the 25th anniversary party, and Danny did the same thing. He's got this infectious enthusiasm for music and loves live performances. And he was just, Paul Allen was playing guitar or bass on stage.
Wait, the billionaire?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I know he's got a big music collection.
Yeah, no, he was up there jamming, and it was quite the eclectic crowd. Taylor Swift, Paul McCartney was singing backup vocals to Taylor Swift. It was an odd mix.
But okay, you would want to see that video. I would think that Saturday Night Live would want to cash in on having all those stars perform at the party. Was anybody filming this?
People had their.
Oh, but not NBC.
Not that I know of. And I think that part of it is because it's supposed to be like a little private, I may get struck by lightning on the way home now talking about it.
As far as Bill Murray.
Oh, Billy was on stage too. Bill Murray was on stage too. Absolutely. Yeah, Billy was there. I think everybody but the Pope and Lassie. It was an impressive. Last night, if you looked around the post party, not to name drop or anything, because it's not.
No, we want that.
It's not my party, so it was all about Lauren. But Eli and Peyton and Jeter were there, with their jaws open, watching what was going on stage. And of course, there's Bradley Cooper and Leonardo DiCaprio and Beyonce and Rihanna and Jay-Z, and it was a very eclectic mix. You had politicians there. So something like Saturday Night Live, and more particular, Lorne Michaels, really. There's very few people in this country that could have gotten that whole group together.
How tough was that ticket for the show itself, do you think?
That's a tough ticket.
Yeah. That's
a tough ticket, in part because, remember, Studio 8H is, there was probably only 280 seats or something last night. So, and as you saw, former hosts and former cast members really filled the arena, the stage, as it should be.
And you're looking, is there still friction there with cast members or host or incident? Is there any bad blood that's still there?
These things are so emotional. It's like a tsunami that washes over all of that because obviously I probably interviewed over 500 people for Saturday Night Live book. And, particularly on background, they'll talk about how so-and-so was this or so-and-so was that, or sometimes they did it on the record, which was always nice. And I saw them hugging each other last night and saying hello. And it was, that's what happens. They're all glad to be part of it. They're all glad to be alive. They're all reminiscing. And those people can be cynical, but there was a lot of goodwill. There was a lot of joy in that room last night.
But I didn't understand this, Jim. Eddie Murphy got a Lifetime Achievement Award, it felt like, with Chris Rock, but he didn't perform. Was there an arrangement that I'll come there, but I'm not going to lower myself and perform, or I moved past that?
Well, again, going back to the 25th, it was very sad that Eddie wasn't there because he probably is the most important cast member in the history of the show. He saved the show. When he got on the show, there was no guarantee that show was going to continue.
What season? Was that 4 or 5? Do you remember?
No. It was, he was a featured player into 7.
Okay.
So, no, Lauren was there for the first 5. And then he started as a feature player after Lauren left and then became a regular. But there was no guarantee. So he carried that show.
But why didn't he perform? Why not do
Because
anything?
I think it was, so he didn't show up at the 25th. And I think it was such a big deal for him. And it was a big deal for everybody for him to just come by. I mean, look, I know everybody was disappointed and they were hoping he was going to do something. And, look, I mean, he may have thought that there was no real upside because, I mean, you'd have to be spectacular. And plus, you're competing with everybody else who was doing.
But I would think the competitor comes out in these performers. That you could see it. They fed off each other. When somebody would do a great bit, and then you could see the next guy. And I would have thought that Eddie Murphy would have eaten that up.
I think maybe he just wanted to set himself apart a little bit, which I think he deserves. I mean, Eddie he's the varsity. And so it was just great to have him there. But I know a lot of people were disappointed.
How's Chevy Chase's health?
I was a little worried about Chevy coming down the stairs. He walked a little slow and he just seemed a little, he didn't seem to be running all 8 cylinders. I hope he's okay. But look, part of it is that these people are now in their late 60s, early 70s, and we're used to seeing them when they were in their early 20s and mid 20s. And so I think, it's a shock sometimes if you haven't followed them through the years.
Who would have been more better received, well received, and they're both beloved, but if Belushi was back or Gilda Radner?
Oh, man, that's a level playing field. I mean, both of them are just treasured beyond belief by everybody, and genuinely so.
Well, they loved Gilda, but John was dangerous.
Yeah, but they loved John because he was dangerous. I mean, that was the whole thing. You didn't love John because he was warm and funny, that, Albanian stock. And
did you ever meet him?
Yes, I did. I had twice got the opportunity to, he was unusual. I mean, really spectacular and very special. But Gilda, in terms of the warmth and your heart, there's nobody that has ever been on the show that has that kind of magnitude of affection from people.
What was Belushi like?
Well, I met him because there was this crazy thing called the A to Z bar tour.
Oh, yeah.
And I
did that with Bill Murray.
Yeah. So I was like.
We didn't make it to Z.
I was one of those peons who just try to get people on the bus. I mean, I was like 22 years old or something and 23 or something. And so I remember, I think it was at the Oak Room, which was O. So you can imagine the alcohol that had been consumed between A and O. And so, I'm well over 4 feet and I'm like 22 years old and I'm running in to tell John Belushi to get out of there and get on the bus. It was a brave moment.
Jim Miller knows where all the bodies are buried. Do you know where more bodies are buried at ESPN or Saturday Night Live?
They're both crowded cemeteries.
The most dangerous story, edgiest story that you had with Saturday Night Live or ESPN that you needed permission to broach the topic?
Well, a lot of things are said either off the record or background. So they're, voted off the island. I can't violate that.
But you put everything on the record. You did interviews. If you had just written a book.
Oh, it would have been much easier.
Yeah.
And I would have spent months with lawyers because then there's a lot of stuff that was said on background or off the record that, certainly tore other people apart.
Okay. Now, I run in the small Hollywood circles here.
Well, of course.
Of course I do.
Yes,
I do Sports Jeopardy. I'm in Sandler movies. So I'm seeing some people.
Yeah.
And we're at Spago. So I've been trying to find out where we stand with if they're going to make your book on ESPN into a movie. And I've asked you, I've asked some people who are involved at ESPN, and it seemed like it stalled. And then I have somebody who says, oh, Jim Miller's you're going to write the screenplay. You've done movies before. You're going to write the screenplay for ESPN, the movie. Is that official?
Okay. Well, I guess it is. I mean, the papers. Yeah, I guess. I mean, deal is just signed. You have good sources.
Well, there you go. Are you working? What movie? What studio?
Focus Features.
Okay, all right.
Great place.
And will you work in conjunction with ESPN on this?
In a word, no.
Okay, why not?
I mean, in terms of the script,
Yeah.
no. I no. I mean, it's a movie, and they don't have a seat at the table.
Okay, but we got over 30 years here. I didn't know if you would do a social network type feel to it of how they started Facebook. If you do it that way with ESPN, of how they started ESPN. What's the movie going to be based on?
Oh, the movie is going to cover several different periods. I broke out the story in a kind of, I hope, in an inventive way, filmic way. And, it's not going to be about one particular year or one particular person or whatever. Because, there is a lot of history there, and there's a lot of good material for a movie. And good characters.
Well, explain, though. Is it going to be love story? Is there going to be tension?
Well, it's about you and Berman.
It is.
Well,
that's the love story right there.
That'll get the tea. That'll sell the popcorn.
Okay. Who's definitely going to be involved character-wise?
Well, look, remember something. In Hollywood, the writer is like one notch below child molester. I mean, the director and the studio and the producers. I mean, I'm going to write the script. And there are, it's going to be a heavily populated movie. There's a lot of great characters, and from my point of view, there's a lot of characters to get out and.
But are we by name? So, am I by name in the movie? Chris Berman, Stuart Scott.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's just like you saw Game Change.
Yeah.
You saw Social Network. You saw Moneyball.
Yeah.
It's in that same vein.
How much am I involved in this? It wasn't meant to be funny. I got kind of nervous here.
Well, I haven't started writing yet. Just like literally just close the deal.
Okay.
Just literally close the deal. So
how
question
much
is, do you have any faith in me, Dan?
Do I have faith in you? You're too damn thorough. That's what scares me. So you're going to have to get somebody who looks like Keith, who looks like Berman, looks like Stewart, sort of?
I mean, I would expect so.
Okay.
I would expect so. I mean, that's up to the director, of course. Great director, Derek Cianfrance. He's fantastic. Okay. So smart and so talented, and delighted to be working with him. But yeah, I think, as you saw, obviously, with Julianne Moore and Sarah Palin, I mean, that, because you guys are well known, and we know your faces, and we know Berman's face and whatever, I would expect that, we'll get somebody close. So for you, I mean, hopefully Brad Pitt or Bradley Cooper is available, obviously.
Somebody better looking?
Okay.
I'm still going with Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm hand-picking Jason Bateman.
But remember, it's a question of what years of the Patrick. It's like...
I'm in mid-90s, I thought
92, 94.
Yeah, perhaps my wheelhouse. I was pretty good there.
Your sweet spot.
Yeah.
So Bateman actually might be, no offense, but might be a little too old. Who knows?
He can play younger. I mean, Bateman's that good.
Okay.
He's able to play younger. Wow. So they're going to make a movie out of this.
Well, knock on wood. Yeah. But this is a good step.
I even wondered about when I went to see Social Network. I thought, I'm not going to like this because it's about a startup. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it was just done brilliantly, but you're sucked into the creating something. Did you steal something? The competition that's in there, friendship, lack of friendship. I mean, can you formulate something like that with ESPN?
Well, I hope so. I mean, look, I'm not Aaron Sorkin, but he wrote a brilliant script, which was just, I mean, it really was magical. And David Fincher did a beautiful job directing. But, I think that it's possible when you look at Social Network and Moneyball and Game Change and other, to take something, a real life story, and to bring it to the screen in a way that people are attracted to. And I think you get a chance to do a little kind of different storytelling.
But how tough was this to sell? Because it had been in the works for a long time, I thought, Jim.
No, not really. It was at a different studio, and then the studio had a change of management, and then the new people didn't like sports, so yada yada yada. It moved over, but no, not really. I mean, in Hollywood terms, it's certainly not long.
Man, all right. Now you piqued my curiosity.
You're gonna have to get a tux, box of popcorn.
I don't know. But the story's already been written because you did all the interviews. I mean, you know the history, so
yeah. The good news is you don't have to do any research.
Yes,
absolutely.
Before I let you go, Brian Williams. What happens to Brian Williams? You take 6 months off nightly news. They talk about credibility. Is he trustworthy? What's it come when the 6 months are up? What happens?
I'm not sure. That's a decision that's going to be made at the highest levels of NBC, and it's going to be dependent on the investigation that's going on right now, and probably a series of conversations. But it has been startling. It has been startling.
But you sit down for 6 months. Do you regain trust when you come back after 6 months? I don't know if you ever. My point was, let him continue to do it, and let the viewers decide if they want to continue to watch him. Then you're going to find out. Why wouldn't NBC do that?
I think that they decided, and it was very clear from Steve Burke's message, that they felt that his actions were not in concert with what the journalistic standards of the division that they wanted.
So he should be punished.
So there had to be repercussions. I think Steve Burke at the end said we're rooting for him, and we hope that this can continue. And so there's an investigation, and we'll see. But it was a dramatic series of events.
I can't imagine a comeback story there. Can you resurface to do news in another on another network? Could you be a reporter again? I mean, it's kind of in a no man's land that we haven't seen this before.
Right. It's uncharted waters. So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of ambiguity and a lot of uncertainties facing him and facing management.
Jon Stewart stepping down. How big?
It's huge. It's huge because.
And why did he step down?
Well, he's done it for 17 years.
So?
But, the thing that blows me away is, like my son is 20. That's his evening news.
Same with
the
my
Daily
kids.
Show. That's the delivery system. So you realize what an impact that's had on that generation. And quite frankly, I love watching it too. So the decision of who replaces Jon Stewart is a huge one.
What does Jon Stewart do?
I don't know. He directed a movie. He's incredibly talented on a variety of levels, and still very young. So I think he's got probably several acts in front of him. But I think I totally understand after 17 years that he wants to do something else.
Yeah, just kind of weird that, because now could he have had Letterman's show if he wanted it?
I don't know. I'm not sure whether maybe he was under contract at the time and maybe they thought he was unapproachable. I'm not sure.
If you had to choose between Colbert or Jon Stewart for Letterman's show.
Well, here's the weird judo move. I'm sorry, but I don't know Colbert because he was doing a character. So one of the great things that is going to happen when he starts takes over from Dave is we're going to get to see Colbert in a way we haven't seen him, right? He had a persona that he was doing on the Colbert Report. So Les Moonves really has thrown the dice in a way. Obviously, I know this because he auditioned for Saturday Night Live. Stephen Colbert is a very, very smart, talented guy. He also sings. He also does a lot of different things. But we really don't know that side of him. So it's a very interesting thing, him taking over for Dave, because we're not just having somebody come on that we already know. It's not like if you took over for Dave, we'd have a basic understanding of what the show was going to be. Colbert Report was a total fictionalization of something. So it's wide open.
What's your next book on?
it's Hollywood based. You're getting too much out of me today, man. I'm like, whoa. I'm like bearing too. Whoa.
Okay. So what do you mean Hollywood? Hollywood is vague.
Right.
But I don't want it to be vague.
I can't go any deeper than that. But
no breadcrumbs.
the movie was, a loaf.
Are you doing? Is it like a book on Sony?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No. That would be a good book.
Maybe. If you were going to interview my guys about this show,
we should do that sometime.
And you could do off the record. You're not an off the record guy.
I'm not an off the record guy.
No, but if you could ask them one question, so do you have something that if you were going to ask that you wanted them to be totally honest with you, if you were writing something about this show, what would you ask?
Do you think Dan has really left ESPN behind him?
Paulie, you want to answer?
That's a fantastic question, by the way. No, I think you did 20 years there and you're known for it. That being said, you're not longing to go back there. You never thought about going back there, but it's like Michael Jordan's a bull. He is a bull. You are an ESPN employee for life, even though you could not work there for the next 20 years.
Okay.
Like being an SNL cast member. Eddie Murphy hasn't been back on that stage in 35 years. He's still SNL Eddie Murphy.
Fritzy?
I think if there was a really special, exciting, lucrative opportunity that I'd like to believe the door is still open, a little crevice for you to stay part of ESPN.
No.
Wow.
No.
I agree with Fritzy.
Wow.
No.
Now, aren't you glad you asked me this question and I asked them this question?
Yeah. Damn.
Very revealing, guys.
I'm too good at this. Satan?
I feel like you would have to have fallen on pretty hard times to take a job at ESPN again.
No. McLevin?
I feel like you are still very emotionally involved with ESPN.
That's true. I'll always be emotionally involved in it because, the time of my life, what was going on career-wise. You can move out of a house, but it's still, a house that you lived in for 18 years.
But I also think it's not only the time of your life, but to be fair, I think it was also the circumstances and the final act there. I think that's probably... I think that's what informs a lot of your emotions sometimes when you talk about it or when you hear about it or when you see things going on there. I think you're inextricably linked with it still, but I think that because of what happened during your final chapter there, it's all kind of like a little, it's a little bit more overdetermined.
Yes, yeah. It motivates me every day because my wife will say, "You won. Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you?" But there's part of me that always wants to have a competitor, and they're my competitor.
Right.
It's just there are too many other great people there that make it seem like I'm firing on them when I'm really firing on a couple of people who one day will acknowledge what went on, and then we'll probably be able to move on. But
now, emotionally, how was it when you went back for Stewart's memorial?
It was, you know what? It was extremely heavy. I said on the show, I didn't see eye to eye with Stewart. We didn't necessarily get along, but I had great respect for him because he did it his way. And to go there and see everybody, I hadn't seen people in 8 years, and to go on campus and see it, I wasn't expecting it. I'm glad I did it.
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, I'm glad. But if you didn't have John Skipper, the head of ESPN, do it, then it probably wouldn't have happened. So I'm grateful to him that part of it is maybe exercising some demons there and letting people know, hey, you know what? I still respect the place, miss the place, love the place, but I'm glad I moved on. I needed to move on.
So you probably have a little less baggage then after that, because going back, I think, is a big deal.
Yes, yeah. As long as I don't run into a couple of people. And of course, one of the first people I see is the person I don't like.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And I go, oh, yeah, hey, I think I hate you.
But I heard from a lot of people. There were a lot of people that were glad to see you back.
I'm glad I went, and hopefully that won't make the movie that you're writing.
Actually, maybe that's
it's not going to make
the.
It's just great.
Opening scene, guys. What do you think?
Who are you going to have play?
Back?
Who's going to play Oberman in this movie?
I don't know.
Keith's going to want to play Keith. Who wants to play themselves more? Keith, Berman, If Stewart was still alive, Stewart would be there. I don't want to play me. Anybody else in there?
I don't know if Berman would want to play Berman.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe,
Would Keith want to play Keith?
No, I don't. Maybe. I've never asked him. I've never talked to him about it, but maybe.
Well,
he could certainly do a good job.
Yes, he was very good at it. Those guys have all the fun inside the world of ESPN and Live from Saturday Night Live. He's Jim Miller, who wrote those books, and now working on a screenplay for ESPN the movie. Is it going to be called ESPN the movie?
No, I don't see that as
Okay.
a marquee.
All right.
It's the Dan Patrick story, and we'll just leave it at that.
All right. Thank you, Jim.